Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we bring you the latest news, information and analysis on what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Today I want to talk about the fact that the US has created a new gas enemy in Europe. Now, the American press have levelled familiar accusations, only this time not against Gazprom, but against another gas supplier to Europe. Norway's been attacked for taking Gazprom's gas crown, and immediately has been accused of becoming a monopolist gas supplier. Now, what exactly is the Bloomberg and the US media accusing Norway of, and is it guilty? I mean, the American news agency Bloomberg has recently published a rather damning article accusing the Norwegian gas giant Equinor, which was formerly Statoil, of usurping Gazprom's crown in Europe in recent years and becoming a virtual monopoly. Now, while the Russian company Gazprom used to supply 35% of all gas across the region of Europe, Norway and its gas monopoly Equinor have captured almost 30% of the market and accounted for about two-thirds of the 109 billion cubic meters of gas exported by Norway in 2023, according to Bloomberg. Now, Norway's overtaken Russia as the region's largest gas supplier. But I mean, according to Bloomberg, are European leaders once again putting their countries at risk by relying on a single supplier? We could ask that about the US LNG, of course. Now, the second point that the Bloomberg article makes is Norwegian gas is subject to supply and maintenance disruptions, and that their prices are also constantly rising. The article even says that Gazprom was a much more reliable supplier in this respect, which is kind of funny. And their third complaint is about Norwegian gas is that it's more expensive than Russian gas, and that's causing discontent in the European community that Norway's unfairly profiting from the EU's gas energy situation post the situation with Gazprom. Now, this argument was first made in 2023 when Norway supplied about $130 billion worth of gas to Europe. And in the end, American publication regrets that the EU will have to make do with Norwegian gas until they get a new wave of LNG supplies from the US and Qatar. And that is not going to start until 2026. Now, the article's made up of nothing in particular. I mean, Norway's done nothing specifically to bypass Gazprom in terms of supply and volumes. I mean, Norway and Equinor produce as much gas as they can. I mean, they're not in a position to actually increase production significantly. I mean, in 2022, they only increased the gas production because they were able to reduce oil production. I mean, the peculiarity of the Norwegian situation is that gas production on their continental shelf is that they pump some of the gas back into the reservoir to maintain the volume of oil coming out, which is a more marginal commodity. But in 2022, gas was more expensive than oil, so it became more profitable for them to produce more gas. So their oil production went down. So that was according to Igor Yushkov, who's an expert at the Russian Financial University and the National Security Fund. But I mean, even in 2022, when gas prices were above 2,000 per 1,000 cubic meters, Norway was only able to increase its gas production by around 8%. And then in 2023, when gas prices went back down to $300 to $400 per 1,000 cubic meters, the gas production went back down again because it was more profitable to do with oil. So, I mean, these fluctuations in production are insignificant. In other words, Norway did nothing to overtake Gazprom on the European market apart from supply what it was able to supply. And it just became the new leader by accident. I mean, the European authorities did everything themselves when they stopped buying Russian gas, and they did force the things to do with Nord Stream. Now, Gazprom has reduced its supplies to Europe by over 130 billion cubic meters because there's no pipelines to actually transport any more of it. It just does what it can through the Ukraine and obviously through Turkstream. So, with Gazprom's share having significantly decreased and Norway's share has increased, but in terms of cubic meters, nothing much has changed. Norway will continue to supply as much gas as it did to the EU. We can't supply any more. And that's really the whole situation. Now, these accusations against Norway that it's gained some power and started to influence gas prices as a result of its uh, influence and leadership in the European market are absolutely untrue. I mean, for example, uh, the accusation that it's unreliable as a gas supplier, well, that's possible, but the thing is, Norway has no spare capacity for gas supply. So if it has to shut down for maintenance or anything like that, then it has to cut the amount of gas that it sends. I mean, unlike Gazprom, it's never had a safety margin where Gazprom could always increase production by another 100 cubic meters from its existing fields. When it was shutting down one pipeline, it would move on to another. But Norway's got no reserve capacity and it's unlikely to have any. So if Norway's got any problem with its infrastructure or it carries out repairs at a field or its gas liquefaction plants, it means immediately there's a cut in the amount of gas it can export to Europe. So it's not doing stuff deliberately. I mean, these were situations where Gazprom just simply increased its production in other fields or took gas out of their storage facilities, I mean, foreign consumers didn't notice when Gazprom did that simply because, it was something that they were able to do and it was part of their strategy. But Norway is not doing that deliberately. It's just part of its, strategy. It doesn't have enough any more gas that it can sell, or it would do so. I mean, it's just the fact that Norway doesn't have as much gas to sell as Russia did, and that's what's made it more noticeable. It used to be known that, or it's thought that Gazprom dictated prices to Europeans, and now Norway's been accused of trying to sell its gas at higher prices when the share of the European market increased. But again, that's not true in the article either. I mean, the claim that Norwegian gas is more expensive than Russian gas has just not happened. I mean, both the Gazprom and the Norwegian current contracts were linked to the spot market, so prices are actually roughly the same depending on what it says in the spot market. I mean, the pricing formula for the standard European contracts is exactly the same. I mean, Norway's not taken advantage of its leadership position, and as we say, that Gazprom never took advantage in his time. Yeah. I mean, gas prices are not determined by Norway, but by the spot market at the TTF and the International Commodities Exchange. And that was the situation that the Europeans themselves wanted. They didn't want long-term contracts at fixed prices. I mean, Norway was the first pipeline supplier to completely switch its long-term contracts to the spot price system, instead of them tying their gas prices to their oil price system. And it did that to please the EU. So I believed that only fair pricing was possible on the spot market, so over they went. Now, Norway did this to its own detriment because at the time, spot prices were low and oil-linked prices were more profitable. Now, this was the same for Gazprom. When it was under pressure from the EC, European Commission, it moved from contracts or long-term contracts to spot components. So the argument about Norway's huge revenue is in gas sales since 2022 is this: yes, it made money, but so did every other gas supplier to Europe. It made a windfall profit, particularly the American LNG suppliers. I mean, they sell gas to Europe at 3 times the price that they sell it on their local domestic market. So it's the actions of the European Commission and the European politicians that have led to high gas prices. And it's just as like Bloomberg has taken one of his old articles where it was negative about Gazprom and its position and the dominant position in the market of the European gas, and it's replaced Gazprom everywhere with Equinor. I mean, it's just like going through this all DCs, but now it's against the Norwegian. And it's got nothing to do with Gazprom then, with the reality now, or Equinor. But it's a guess that it's obviously somebody's good friends with the renewable energy suppliers or the LNG companies, and they decided to have a go at bashing is the Norwegians for interfering with their particular plans. Anyway, there'll be more LNG to compete with the Norwegians when the new plants come on stream in 2026. And by the way, LNG supplies to Europe have already reached 131 billion cubic meters, and that's a record level. And that's not quite, but it's about 2/3 of what was Gazprom's share of pipeline gas. Now, gas, that makes up 40% of Europe's gas, and Norway, which supplies come from the North Sea, is 29%, and supplies from North Africa come third with 11%. So the share of gas supplies from Russia, even currently, through Ukraine and through Turkey, is only 9.7%. Now, 5% actually came from the UK. Anyway, that's the bogeyman of Norway. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe. Also visit the website for lots of articles of what's going on in the world of the BRICS. And until the next time, I'll see you again. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.